All right, tonight we're heading to the legendary San Siro Stadium to really get in to a massive, massive result in the Champions League. Inter Milan 1, Arsenal 3. Look, this wasn't just another win. This was a statement. It was a completely dominant performance that locked in Arsenal's spot in the knockouts and, on top of that, broke a club record. So let's dive into this masterclass.
And it all really boils down to this one number, 7. This victory, it was Arsenal's 7th straight win in the Champions League. Now, that's not just a good run of form, okay? That is the longest winning streak the club has ever had in the entire history of the competition. It's a brand new benchmark for a team that is just absolutely flying right now.
So that's the big question we're going to answer here. How in the world did they pull this off? Well, it was a mix of some incredible individual brilliance, some tactical genius, and, just amazing team depth. Let's break down exactly how this landmark victory was built piece by piece. Okay, first, let's just set the scene a bit. This win wasn't just for bragging rights. No. It guaranteed Arsenal a top 2 finish in the new Champions League phase. And if you're not totally familiar with the new format, this is a huge deal. It means they get to completely skip those tricky knockout playoffs, and they've secured home advantage for the second leg in the round of 16. That is a massive strategic plus. The game itself? Oh, it was a fantastic watch. Arsenal just came out of the gates on fire, with Gabriel Jesus poking them ahead after only 10 minutes. Inter did strike back with a really nice finish from Petar Šučić, but Jesus, he wasn't done. He headed in his second just after the half-hour mark. The game was pretty much sealed up late on when Viktor Gyökeres curled in an absolute beauty to make it 3-1. Just a controlled, clinical performance from the first whistle to the last. Now, if there's one single story that really defines this match, it has to be the return of Gabriel Jesus. I mean, after a grueling 11-month absence with a really serious knee injury, this was only his 3rd start back. And what a way to announce your return to the European stage. Wow. And to really understand just how big this was for him personally, think about this. Before this game, Jesus had gone 10 Champions League matches without scoring a single goal. So to come back from that in a super high-pressure away game and score not 1 but 2 huge goals, I mean, that's the stuff of football fairy tales, right? And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. This was the headline after the game. It was a dream night for him. You could just feel how emotional and triumphant that return was. This performance was about so much more than just the 3 points. It was a massive personal victory for a player who has fought so hard to get back to his best. But this win wasn't just about one player's heroics. It was also a total tactical triumph. And it was built on a weapon they have honed all season, something that's become Arsenal's calling card, the set piece, and specifically the corner kick. So let's zoom in on how they got that lead back, and let's break down that second goal. This was straight off the training ground, you could just tell. Step 1, Bukayo Saka whips in a deep corner. Step 2, Leandro Trossard gets on the end of it, heading it right back across the 6-yard box. And then step 3, a completely unmarked Gabriel Jesus is right there to nod it home. Simple, so effective, and honestly, almost unstoppable. And that goal just perfectly highlights the sheer scale of their dominance here. It was Arsenal's 19th goal from a corner this season. I mean, to put that in perspective, that is the most of any team in Europe's top 5 leagues, and it's not even close. While the average top team might score, around 7, Arsenal are just in a league of their own. This isn't luck. This is a meticulously coached weapon. So, zooming out from the game itself, this victory tells a much larger story about the squad that Mikel Arteta has built. It's like a well-oiled machine, and it's proving that it has the depth and the relentless form to compete on every single front. And would you look at that? There's that number again. 7. But this time it means something totally different. 7. That's how many changes Arteta made to the starting lineup for this game in Milan. To be able to rotate that heavily for a Champions League away game against a team like Inter and still put in such a commanding performance, I mean, that speaks volumes about the quality he has to the entire squad. It's that depth that keeps everyone fresh enough to pull off those high-concentration tactics, like the set pieces we just talked about, with such precision. This win was also part of a brutal run of 4 straight away games. And just look at their record. They stayed unbeaten through all of it. They picked with massive wins against Chelsea, Portsmouth, and of course Inter, all while holding a 7-point lead at the top of the Premier League. This is a team that just does not flinch, doesn't matter where they're playing or who they're up against. Okay, so
We've seen the emotional story, we've seen the tactical masterclass. Now, for the final piece of the puzzle. Let's look at the cold, hard data. Because the numbers behind this victory, they tell a story of just complete control. Let's kick things off with expected goals, or XG. Basically, this stat just measures the quality of the chances a team creates. So Arsenal registered an XG of 2.12 compared to Inter's 1.33. What this tells us is that based on the opportunities they created, Arsenal weren't just lucky winners, they were deserved winners. They were consistently creating the better, more dangerous scoring chances all game long. And if we zoom out to the whole Champions League season, the gap between these two teams becomes a giant chasm. Arsenal are flying high at the top of the league phase, Inter are way down in ninth. Offensively, Arsenal have scored 20 goals, but it's the defense that's just unbelievable. They've only conceded 2 goals. I mean, across every single key metric, Arsenal have just been the superior side in this competition, period. So all of this brings us to our final question. We've seen a team that has set a new club record with 7 straight wins. We've seen a team with enough depth to make 7 changes and still go dominate one of Italy's giants away from home. And we've seen a team that is just tactically superior. So as we start looking ahead to the knockout stages, you've really got to ask, are this Arsenal team now the one to beat in Europe?